What's going on, guys? It's Cimo, bringing you guys another commentary over a live match. So today, both of these players are 3-1. On the left, we have Altergeist, and on the right, we have Crusadia Guardragon. Now, if you remember, Altergeist was one of the top meta contenders, and then Pot of Extravagance was supposed to take it over the top, but now it's like completely fallen out of contention, barely even qualifying for rogue status at this point, because you rarely even see it. So, we're going to see the Altergeist player go first, winning the die roll. We're going to see the normal summon of a Cimoooooooo, a secret village of the spellcasters locking out spells, and then a Altergeist protocol flip during the Crusadia Guardragon player's turn. So he has an interesting dynamic here because all spell cards are locked out. Crusadia Guardragon probably doesn't care about that too much. I think it just depends on the composition of his hand. But Cimoooooooo could potentially bounce protocol back, and then protocol could like negate an effect, but it's only like one layer of disruption, so it's not like too awful, and we'll just have to see what the Crusadia Guardragon player decides to do here. He does special summon a Photon Thrasher since he doesn't control any monsters, so he could potentially attack and like force the activation, and it looks like that's exactly what he's going to do here. So now we're going to see the Altergeist player in response use Cimoooooooo's effect to bounce protocol back to his hand and the Thrasher back to the Crusadia Guardragon player's hand. So he does have at least one more turn in him. He did get the Crusadia Guardragon player to waste his battle phase, but we'll see if that matters because now he really just has Secret Village on the field, and if there's a way he can clear the Cimooooooooos, then that will go offline, so then all the spell cards will be up, and it could just snowball from there. So the battle phase may be, marginal at best in terms of how impactful that might be. So we see a Crusadia Leonis coming down, and that is going to get immediately linked off into a copy of Crusadia Maximus, or Magus, excuse me, sorry, and that's going to prompt a Fantastical Dragon Phantasme from the Altergeist player. So he's going to draw a couple cards, he's going to put one back on the bottom of his deck, and then we're going to go ahead and see if there's any follow-up play with the Magus, which will prompt a search from the Crusadia Guardragon player. He's still got a full grip of cards. We know one card is Photon Thrasher. I see it looks like one spell card in his hand, but it looks like all the rest is monsters, and that could be, pretty much exactly what he needs to start comboing off here. But the Altergeist player did get a couple new cards, so maybe there's some new hand traps there that could potentially stop the plays. We'll just have to see what happens. It looks like I see a Crusadia Draco in there as well, which is a pretty good play starter here. Just helping enable a lot of the deck's plays. He's going to go for Crusadia Arborea, though, which is going to trigger the Magus' search effect, since a monster was special summoned to a zone it points to. We're going to see what he goes ahead to search here. I still just think it's so fascinating how Altergeist, again, was just going to have so much power behind it with Pot of Extravagance. And I imagine that, this player is playing Pot of Extravagance. It could not be, but, it's still just such a strong card in the deck. The deck kind of just dissolved. And that's kind of just what happens in Yu-Gi-Oh! Sometimes that, people get really hyped about something and it really just never happens. So it's interesting to see that happen every once in a while. And it's kind of cool because, that kind of just shows that, the OCG and the TCG are never exactly the same. So we see him go into a Spatha, and then he's going to also summon out a Crusadia Reclusia to the zone that Spatha points to, and he's going to use the effect of Crusadia Reclusia to pop the Secret Village of the Spellcaster, and that's going to allow him to play a Kyoto Waterfront in the field spell zone. So now he's going to go ahead and use Crusadia Drago and summon that to the zone where Spatha is pointing towards, and this is going to allow him to get a copy of Leonis back to his hand. Now he's going to go ahead and link that off, presumably for a copy of Elpie here. And now Spatha is going to target the Elpie to move it to a different zone, and that will unlock the ability for Elpie to trigger, getting Red Eye's Darkness Metal Dragon from the deck. And it looks like all this is going off pretty unopposed here. We'll just have to see. There could potentially still be a hand trap, but typically, you want to hit something like the LP, or you could also wait for the Saryuja as well. That is another possibility, because then they pretty much they've committed so many resources into that Saryuja that it can just be crippling. So we see the Draco come back to the field from Red Eye's Darkness Metal Dragon's effect, and now we're going to see Saryuja. So does he have the Ash Blossom? This is where we're going to know for sure. And the Saryuja is going to resolve. I was going to say there is no Ash Blossom in the Altergeist player's hand. You can pretty much definitively say that. The Altergeist player is putting his cards down, kind of just showcasing that he doesn't really have anything. You always want to keep an eye on your opponent's body language because sometimes they can give away information about, what the cards may be in their hand, even though it may not directly say what it is. In this instance, you kind of just know you're going to go off. And also you can kind of make those assumptions based off of what cards do and do not get negated when you're going about with your plays. But that's kind of just one of those instances where you should feel pretty safe. So Saryuja resolved, he drew 4 and put 3 back. He's going to special summon Arborea with the effect of Saryuja, and he's going to resurrect Draco with a copy of Monster Reborn. So now he's going to link that off into, I believe, a copy of Pisty, is probably the line of play here. And there is Pisty. Pisty allowing a special summon from the graveyard or the Banished Zone. He's probably going to get Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, which is not a hard once per turn, so he can bring the Drago back once again. And it looks like he's going to link both of those off into possibly a copy of Agripane, and there it is. So Agripane allowing a special summon from the extra deck. Probably going to get something like Galaxy Eye Cypher Dragon, it looks like. I was going to say, he's got a wide myriad of options that he could special summon with that Agripane. So Dark Matter Dragon going to come down. He's going to send a Destrudo, a Goliath, and an Arcbrave Dragon, and now the Altergeist player has to banish 3 monsters from their deck. So he's going to banish, it looks like, possibly all 3 copies of Effect Veiler, at least 2 at the very least. But that's going to set up so strong for the following turn. However, keep in mind, this is all during main phase 2, so he isn't dead this turn, but it's going to be a little bit difficult to mount a comeback once a board like this gets established. So now that, you get those hand traps out of the deck, he's going to use the effect of Kyoto Waterfront since it has enough counters to search a copy of Gameciel. And this is where this deck starts getting crazy because when you have Gameciel with Kyoto Waterfront, it's just absolutely absurd. He's going to go ahead and link off for a second copy of Saryuja here. If the first one resolved, it's most likely the second one is going to resolve as well. And so he's going to get 4 brand new cards. He's going to put 3 back on the bottom of his deck. He also gets an additional special summon since Saryuja is also not a hard once per turn, meaning since it's a new copy, he's going to special summon another one if he so wishes. But I imagine he's going to. Looks like he's putting that Thrasher back on the bottom potentially. Now, he has used all of his Guardragon effects here, so that is something to keep in mind. So he's not going to be summoning anything like Crystal Wing out of the extra deck here. I mean, he is going to Destrudo on the Arborea, so that is going to make Destrudo a level 4. He's most likely going to try to set up some sort of Borreload Savage Dragon play, I imagine, and he is going to special summon Maximus, which he's going to now Synchro by putting Destrudo back on the bottom of the deck, and the Maximus for 8, and I imagine it's going to be Borreload Savage Dragon, probably one of the strongest level 8 Synchros currently in the game. It's going to get 300 boost from Saryuja, and it's going to equip a Saryuja, giving it 4 Boral counters, meaning it has 4 negates. Now, those are only once per turn, so do keep that in mind, but it is still very significant because that's at least 1 negate for the opponent's turn, and then it's also going to protect him during his own turn if it cycles back around to that, if the Altergeist player doesn't scoop it up. So we see World Legacy Guardragon come down, a spell that allows him to special, basically like a Monster Reborn that's themed for the archetype, but I believe you can add the card to your hand as well. And he's going to go ahead and summon Cyber's Quantum Dragon, I believe the card is, which just bestows him with some protection from targeting in battle. And I was going to use Saryuja's effect to special summon Gameciel, and now he has the Kyoto counter, or yes, I believe it's their Kyoto counters on the waterfront, so he's going to have multiple negations for the Gameciel, which means at the very least he's going to have to play through, the Altergeist player is going to have to play through at least 2, 3, possibly even 4 negates, depending on what else he has going on. Not to mention, during the standby phase of the Altergeist player's turn, Amorphage Goliath is going to special summon itself, and meaning he's not going to be able to special from the extra deck. So we see the Altergeist player normal summon a copy of Meluseek, which doesn't do a whole lot here. I think he can get in for a direct attack under the Quantum Dragon, but it's not really going to do that much because, yeah, he'll get in for 500 damage directly, but he can't use the effect because Gameciel and Borreload Savage Dragon could just negate it, and then not to mention he also can't link off into Link Kuriboh because Goliath is on the field. So It doesn't do a whole lot here. I mean, yeah, potentially it's a Silquidius bounce or it's a protocol piece of fodder, so there is that, but I'm not really too sure how much that Meluseek is actually going to achieve in this particular instance. So it looks like the Altergeist player just checking Gameciel to make sure he understands the interaction. Now, he does have the protocol, because we saw that from the first turn that he bounced back with the Silquidius. So maybe there's the chance that he could build some sort of, like, crazy chain link with, like, bouncing and, like, negating with protocol. And then maybe if his other card's, like, a Solemn Strike, he could, like, strike, and since it's a spell speed 3, he can't respond with Gameciel or Savage Dragon. Who knows? We'll just have to see. So the Altergeist player trying to link off into Link Karibo, but the Crusadia Guardragon player showing that Goliath is on the field, preventing that. That would have been a lot more in the favor of the Altergeist player if he had that card to get that Multi-Faker to his hand. So we see Protocol getting flipped, Gameciel trying to negate, then Impermanence, negating the Gameciel, Borreload Savage Dragon, attempting to negate the Impermanence, and then Protocol trying to negate the Gameciel. Oh my god, this is just like a massive chain link here. This is insane. And it looks like the Altergeist player is attempting to use Phantasme, but neither the Borreload Savage Dragon nor the Gameciel actually target. So he can't actually use that in response. But it looks like he's going to chain Silquidius. There's a lot going on. So it's Protocol Chainlink 1, Gameciel 2, Impermanence 3, Savage Dragon 4, Protocol 5, I think Gameciel 6, and then Silquidius 7? I think that's what it is.
So this was sent from Protocol.
Wow, this is just a massive chain link. So the players are just trying to make sure that they know what everything is going. And also making sure the Kyoto counters are also being accounted for as well there. And then Gameciel has 3 counters, so he can use Gameciel to negate the Silquidius. Oh my god. So is that like an 8th chain link? This is insane. Oh my god. So I'm pretty sure like every card on the Altergeist player, except for the Phantasme, is actually just getting destroyed at this point. So they're clarifying again. So it's Protocol Gameciel, Impermanence Savage, Protocol activated effect, Gameciel to negate again, and then Silquidius 7, and then Gameciel 8 because he had enough counters. Oh my god, that is just, like, that's one of the craziest chain links I think I've ever seen. Oh my god. So the player's just trying to make sure everything's in the proper spot after that chain resolves. Gameciel does banish when it negates, so they're just making sure, because that can matter, because, you know, there's cards like Manifestation that could resurrect it, and wow, that was crazy. Again, they're still working it out here. They're just wanting to make sure that everything worked out properly. Yeah, so Protocol, Gameciel. I think they're wanting to make sure the Waterfront Tower, the token, there's enough tokens, or excuse me, counters for Gameciel to activate as many times as it did. So Gameciel going to negate that as Chainlink 6. Use Meluseek as Chainlink 7. And Gameciel has just enough counters for a Chainlink 8. Negating and banishing that Silquidius. If that doesn't show the power of Gameciel, I don't know what does. That was just insane. So now after all that, Altergeist Meluseek gets to search out most likely either a Multi-Faker or actually a Marionetter might actually not be too bad either. Because he doesn't have any trap cards now. Unless he has one in hand that he drew for the turn. Wow. That was just an astounding show of power there from Gamma. Gamma had 3 negations in one single chain link. If you guys don't think Gamma is the best kaiju, you're just completely off your rocker. Man, this is why I love Yu-Gi-Oh! Just for shit like that. That was incredible. Now, I don't know how the Altergeist player is going to possibly come back from that.
Main phase.
Yeah, this was during your standby.
This was during my standby.
Oh my god.
So, it looks like we see a copy of Hat Tricker being summoned from the Crusadia Guardragon player.
I'm just playing.
And I'm pretty sure this should be game because Phantasma only has 2,400 attack and he has more than 8,000 damage on the field. It's got 28. Borreload Savage is boosted by Saryuja by half too, so that should be more than enough. And the Altergeist player is going to scoop it up. We are going to game 2. Oh my god. This has just been insane. So the Altrgeist player gets to start, but he's going to set 2, going to play Secret Village of the Spellcasters again, go Meluseek into Link Kuriboh, which is going to net him a copy of Multifaker. And so as soon as that Multifaker hits the field, spell cards will be turned off. So hopefully he has a copy of maybe Personal Spoofing, maybe a Protocol, something that can immediately just trigger that Multifaker. And it looks like he has the Protocol, which is going to get Multifaker, and that's going to allow him to get Silquidius. Very good opening from the Altergeist player. Much better than the first game. So now he's got a Multifaker with the Silquidius that he can bounce. Protocol can negate a card. Link Kuriboh can protect either of them. And he also has a set card. Spell cards are turned off, and the Altergeist player still has 1 card in hand, which could potentially be a hand trap. So the Crusadia Guardragon player is going to have a rough time playing through this, but he is up a game, so that does play to his advantage. So, because even if he loses this, he could go first next in Game 3 and be perfectly fine with that. But he's obviously going to play through it as best he can. He's going to normal summon Photon Thrasher just like he did in the first game, as a matter of fact. He's probably going to use this to possibly bait out... I mean, he could try to bait out Link Kuriboh here, but I'm not really sure if that does enough. So he declares the attack. Link Kuriboh gets tributed, making Thrasher 0. Thrasher will stay on the field, but I'm not really sure how impactful it's going to be because he does have to play through a Protocol Negate, a Silquidius Bounce, and also potentially either a Hand Trap and another unknown set card as well. So 4 potential disruptions here for the Altergeist player. And not to mention the Crusadia Guardragon player cannot use spells. So Silquidius is going to bounce the Crusadia Arborea that got normal summoned. So no Crusadia Magius, and the Crusadia Guardragon player is just going to pass. Wow, so that was just enough. Now, Altergeist being a control deck, it is not going to be able to completely close out the game here, but control decks doing what they do best. They're going to probably set up in such a way that it might just be pretty unlikely that the Crusadia Guardragon player will be able to come back. We see a normal summon of Meluseek, which is very, very good. That's going to allow him, if he plays multiple Link Kuriboh, which I believe Altergeist players do, especially because of Pot of Extravagance, they can go ahead and use Link Kuriboh. He can search for a copy of another Multifaker if he wishes, but he could also get Konkiri. He's going to go for Marionetter in this particular instance, since he already has Multifaker, so multiple copies of that would be redundant. So again, not getting in for big damage here, but the thing is, he is going to set up his board and develop it even further, just to pretty much draw any hope of the Crusadia Dragon player winning away from him. Protocol is going to get reflipped, which is going to special summon Multifaker, which will allow him to get another card from his deck. Multifaker, just such a powerful card. He's going to get Konkiri this time, which is good because he can bounce it with the Silquidius, and then not only have a disruption, but then Konkiri in the hand to potentially block another attack, and also negate an effect as well.
When he special summon, anytime I can target a face-up card on your side of the field and negate its effect, and it can be special summoned when it's on.
I think the Crusadia Guardragon player just asking for clarification on Konkiri's effect. So we see Photon Thrasher coming down again. This didn't work too well for him last time, but depending on the composition of his hand, it may not be enough anyway. Looks like Thrasher's going to go in and attack the Link Karibo. It's going to make the Thrasher 0 with Link Karibo's effects, so no more attacks from Thrasher this turn. I see a copy of Collapse Serpent in his hand, so maybe the Crusadia Guardragon player's hand is just not optimal. And just like the turn prior, you know, if he's doing a similar line of play, his hand just may not be ideal for this instance. And now we see that, you know, the Crusadia Guardragon player just passed again. So now Marionettor is going to get normal summoned, which will get him another trap from the deck, most likely. He already has a protocol, so maybe a copy of Manifestation, or a second protocol also works. So he's going to use the secondary effect of Marionettor to send protocol to get back a copy of Meluseek. It's going to switch the Faker into attack mode. So he's going to attack directly with the Meluseek for 500 damage. It's going to put him on, I believe, 5,900 life. He's going to use the effect of Meluseek to send Thrasher to the grave, and then he's going to get in for, I believe, 800, 1,200, and 16. So that's going to put the Crusadia Guardragon player down to 2,300 life points. And he's also going to go ahead and get the Link Karibo in the battle phase as well, just to get another 300 damage in, but also to get another search from Meluseek and get another Marionettor for his following turn. And we know he has Protocol in the back row, so he has at least one negation, and that second card could realistically be anything. Yeah, the Altergeist player just in full control of the game at this point. The Crusadia Guardragon player's hand is just very subpar. He gets the Rhoda, but it's not going to matter because Secret Village of the Spellcaster will negate that. Or it actually prevents it from even being played in the first place. I think he was just hoping for anything to get him out of that situation, so that was just, you know, a little bit of a misplay there. It's fine. So Photon Thrasher getting banished for Collapse Serpent. And the Altergeist player is going to flip up Protocol in response. No effect, just flipping it up. No effect has been activated, so Collapse Serpent going to go swing in for the Karibo, but we see the Konkiri coming down, which is going to prevent that from happening. And this looks very, very grim for the Crusadia Guardragon player. And it looks like he's picking up his cards, and we are going to game number 3. The Crusadia Guardragon player definitely has the advantage, though, now, because he is going first. So if he can either play through whatever hand traps the Altergeist player has, I mean, this could probably just be game over on turn 1. But if the Altergeist player has a hand trap, which it looks like he has an Effect Veiler, that could just be enough. But we see a normal summon of Reclusia and then a Destrudo coming down for the initial play. And now we see a Hat Tricker coming down as well. So we see the Reclusia being turned into a Magius, and it looks like we're going to see a rank 4 play, actually, since Destrudo is level 4. But before that happens, we actually are going to see an Effect Veiler being used on the Destrudo. Now, that should put Destrudo back to level 7, since it's negating the effect that put it at level 4 in the first place. And it looks like they're going to go ahead and ask. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward a little bit here. And it seems as though the judge has called that it will make Destrudo a level 7. I'm going to have to look 100% to see if that is the case, but I believe that should be how it works. So the Crusadia Guardragon player does have another copy of Reclusia that he can special summon to the zone that Magius points to. So fortunately, he does have that zone open, and that will trigger the Magius to search a copy of Draco. Now, he could potentially go into a Saryuja here. He does have 4 materials, but that's very risky. But I mean, depending on the situation he's in, that may be his best option. He does have a Draco, though, so I mean, he could potentially try to do some sort of LP play. It looks like they're trying to determine if he uses the Destrudo as material, if it goes to the bottom of the deck. Okay, so it looks like the Determinate goes to the grave since the Shooter's effect is being negated. So Crusadia Spatha is going to now hit the field. And there's the Draco. We'll see if that Destrudo ends up mattering. I mean, it could potentially, because you could resurrect it on a following turn, but we'll just have to see. So Draco coming down, he could now go into LP and then use Spatha to move it so that he can start doing his typical Guardragon shenanigans. It looks like that's what he's going to do. Spatha going to move the LP to a different zone, and that is going to allow him to special summon. Ooh, the Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon was in the hand, so no plus there. But he does get to resurrect the Crusadia Draco, and now we could potentially go ahead and just go into a Link 4 play for Saryuja. Again, it's still pretty risky. I mean, Effect Veiler already came out to stop the Destrudo. But Ash could just be enough here. So he is going to go for the Link 4 play. And Saryuja should be coming down. And there it is. So will the effect resolve? And yes, it does. So no Ash Blossom from the Altergeist player, hoping that that Effect Veiler was just going to be enough to stop the Crusadia Guardragon player from doing any other sort of plays. So the Crusadia Guardragon player is going to put 3 cards back on the bottom after drawing 4. And now the Draco is going to turn into a Pisty, which will allow him to resurrect the Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. And then he's going to resurrect the Draco with that effect, I imagine. Yes, and now we can go ahead and make a copy of Aggerpain if he so wishes. So even though it didn't seem like his hand was that... it looked like he could have actually been stopped pretty hard there, but it looks like the Crusadia Guardragon player is back in it, and he's going to summon the Aggerpain, go into a Cypher Dragon off Aggerpain, and then Dark Matter Dragon on top of that. So that's going to allow him to send the Archbrave Goliath combo, and then a third card as well. I imagine he might be playing multiple copies of Destrudo in this deck just to kind of access it as easily as possible. Maybe he's only playing one, though, because he did send a Black Dragon Collapse Serpent instead. So those 3 cards are going to go to the graveyard. The Altergeist player is going to have to banish 3 monsters from his deck. Altergeist is already running a fairly low monster count, so at this point I imagine he's just going to banish any of his hand traps. And it looks like he's going to banish all 3 copies of Phantasme. Since the Crusadia Guardragon player is already setting up their board, it's not really too ideal at this point because it's just going to be a dead draw unless he manages to break the board. Then maybe Phantasme could maybe do something, but I kind of agree with that play of just getting rid of all those copies. At this point, that deck thinning is actually kind of nice, because then you can hopefully ensure that you're not going to draw one of those copies of Phantasme. So we see a second copy of Saryuja. It's going to go ahead and resolve. He's going to draw another 4, put another 3 back. He will get an additional special summon once again. We're going to see what kind of board he can end up on. He does not have a Kyoto Waterfront this time, so we're not going to see any Gamma Seal action, unless he drew it off that Saryuja, of course. Destrudo's already been used. Draco, I believe, might be... No, Arborea is the tuner. I was going to say Draco. Oh, he has the Arborea. It doesn't matter. So Arborea going to special summon itself. So that would be a sync for 7, but Borreload Savage Dragon is 8, so he's not going to be able to do anything there. He's going to special summon Collapse Serpent by banishing Magius out of his graveyard. The Altergeist player just clarifying where the other Black Dragon Collapse Serpent came from. It was sent off the Dark Matter. It looks like he's going to Synchro for the Cyber Quantum Dragon, which will get boosted by the Saryuja by 300. That's going to trigger the Black Dragon Collapse Serpent's effect to grab a White Dragon Wyver Burster. And they could potentially give him a rank 4 play here. He's going to banish the Collapse Serpent for the Wyver Burster, which will get buffed by the Saryuja. It's probably not going to matter because he's probably going to get rid of it anyway. And it looks like he's going to overlay here. This might have been the play he was going to try to do before anyway. And he's actually going to set a card that I believe is actually one of the new cards out of Dual Power. I'm going to go ahead and quickly pull that up here for you guys. And it's actually not. It's actually Starliege Photon Blast Dragon, a card from Legendary Duelist White Dragon Abyss. So it just takes 2 level 4s, and while it's on the field, your opponent cannot target monsters you control with 2,000 or more attack with card effects, and they cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. And once per turn, it has a quick effect to detach a material and target a Galaxy Eyes that's banished or in your graveyard and special summon it. Not too relevant, but it's just for the protection of all the gigantic monsters that he has on the field. And we see that he's also going to flip up a Mask of Restrict in addition to all that. So he doesn't really have any sort of negation here. I mean, he has the protection from the Starliege Photon Blast Dragon, but Goliath is going to prevent him from going into... that's going to prevent him from going into, like, Linkuriboh with Meluseek and such, but nothing that's really going to disrupt him during his turn. We saw the Altergeist player try to use Impermanence on the Starliege Photon Blast Dragon, but it cannot be targeted. Or rather, the other monsters cannot be targeted with card effects. The Starliege Phantom Dragon's at 2100 because of the Saryuja, making it impervious to its, or excuse me, making it acceptable under its own effect. So that's actually pretty good. But the Altergeist player does have a copy of Altergeist Meluseek, which kind of bypasses this because Altergeist Meluseek sends a card to the graveyard, unfortunately. So the Starliege Photon Blast Dragon is not going to be too effective. And again, the Altergeist player trying to go into that Linkuriboh desperately just to get that multi-faker to hand, but it's not really going to happen with the Goliath on the field. He didn't use the effect of Meluseek. I'm not sure if there's something I missed. But Meluseek does not target, I believe. Oh, actually, it might. I take that back. So maybe that was the reason why that card couldn't send. That's probably the reason, I imagine. So we see a personal spoofing on the standby phase of the Crusadia Guardragon player. And we might have something else here to chain in response to that. So the Altergeist player taking his time determining that. Every move here could matter. I mean, we're down to the wire. So this is one of those moments where you're in game 3, you know, you're at the top tables. You really just want to make sure that you want to play everything out perfectly. So spoofing is going to go ahead and send the Marionetter, and he's going to grab a copy of Konkiri from the deck with spoofing's effect. And so the Crusadia Guardragon player just once again clarifying what the Altergeist Konkiri does. And Meluseek does target, just to clarify. So that's why he wasn't able to send any of the monsters. He could have sent, like, the Mask of Restrict, though, which I'm kind of curious as to why that card is there in the first place. Just to ensure that he doesn't get Kaiju, I presume. Because Kaiju is one of the outs to these types of boards. Mask of Restrict preventing any type of tributing. It's also nice, too, because if you have any way to summon, like, Nightmare Griffin, you could just send it through other means and then set it to your own field. So Meluseek getting destroyed is going to go ahead and get a multi-faker added to hand. And it looks like he's going to go ahead and swing with the Saryuja. We're going to see Heavy Storm Duster be activated in response to the Saryuja attack, and then multi-faker is going to be summoned as well. And so this is all before the Saryuja attack is going through. So Multi-Faker is going to summon itself, presumably going to get a copy of Silquidius just as an added layer of defense. But none of the monsters can be targeted because of that Photon Blast Dragon. So Silquidius actually might not be the best bet here, because he's not going to be able to bounce anything back. Meluseek already triggered this turn, so I don't think he can get anything off of that. The Photon Blast Dragon is actually putting in a lot of work with that targeting protection. Marionetto doesn't do any good here. He knows Konkiri's in the hand, but it looks like he's going to... Oh, he was going to decide on Meluseek, but yeah, it looks like he is going to go with that. So Saryuja will get a replay attack, since the monster count on the field has changed. So he's going to go ahead and attack the Multi-Faker. He's going to use the Quantum Dragon to attack the Meluseek, and that's going to proc the Konkiri to drop down to the field to stop that. Goliath is going to go ahead and take out the Konkiri, and then he is used everything with his attacks. The Altergeist player is going to shake it up because time has been called in the round. His life points are lower than his opponent's. But man, that was one hell of a game. So guys, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time.